Hi, Amy with Fashion Toppings here, and you're about to watch my farmhouse, the guest house, kitchen table redo. Now, this video is going to be a little different than most of your chalk painting videos because this is full of the trials and tribulations, things that can go wrong. And I wanted to share with you what went wrong, how I corrected, what products did I use, and things to watch out for. So as you watch the video, you're going to see that I'm going to have issues with yellowing of my white paint and how I had to correct it, crackling on the chairs because of the type of varnish on these antique furniture that they use. The type of varnish that they had on it actually didn't take the chalk paint very well, and what I had to do to overcome that. So stay tuned. For this video, I walk you through everything I had to do, and I also show you everything that went wrong and what I had to do to correct it. So I hope you enjoy this video. Here we go. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm sanding the whole top of this table, and I'm using 80 grit sandpaper going with the grain until I have all the old sand off. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to use go with a higher number. I'm going to do a 120 and then a 220 just to get it nice and smooth so that I can stain the top and have a darker wood top. And I'll show you at the next step. Okay, now that I finished it with the 80 grit, you can see a slight line right here. I'm starting to do it by hand. I did this with the 80 grit, but this type of sandpaper I bought is meant for a different type of sander. It's felt, so it won't stick to this, so I have to do it by hand. But you can see the little line right there. See that line right there? That I went back over with 120 grit. So I started with 80, this is 120, and then I'm going to go back and do it by hand again with the 220, just to get it nice and smooth. But you can see my line. So this does by hand with the grain. See all that powder that's coming up? So it is, smoothing it out. And then the line's gone. So I think this is going to be beautiful. So I'm going to do the finish up here with the 120, then do the 220, wipe it down with a wet towel, let it dry, make sure it's clean, and then I'm going to start staining it. And I think I'm going to use a dark walnut. Okay, now I have dark walnut and gloves, of course. I'll have to not videotape during this because I'm using my cell phone because my other camera is not here at the house. And I can't use the cell phone button with the gloves on because I won't read it. So you have to put gloves on. I'm using a torn up t-shirt. I put the stain in a Tupperware dish that I can put a lid on it when I'm done, in case I need to put another coat on. But I did wipe the table down. It's starting to dry. It's a little bit damp still, but I did wipe it down. And now I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now you just dip your stain into the rag and you wipe with the grain. And that is going to be gorgeous. So I'm just going to wipe it on with the grain on these little accent pieces goes the opposite direction. So I do need to make sure I'm going with the grain. And let's see here. Oh, that's going to be so pretty. Okay, I'm going to wipe it all down and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, I love how the stain turned out. I will be painting the base and then all these ugly chairs will get done. Haven't picked out a fabric, haven't picked out a color yet, but I wanted to get the top of this done, and I think it turned out beautiful. It did take 2 coats of stain. I stained it, and then it was just a little too red, so I put another coat of stain on it, and the grain of the wood, some absorbed it more than others, but I like it. Oops, I almost tripped on the chair. I had to move inside because it got too dark outside to finish. But I like how also the border wood is a different kind of wood. It was a really hard, like cherry almost. So I'm in love with how it turned out. Look at how it matches my floors. That was the whole plan, is to get it to match my floors. So you can see that. And then I can get both of them pictured at the same time. See how close they are? That was what I wanted. And it turned out amazing. I'm so in love with this. Okay, well, that's where we're at now. And next, I will show you what I'm doing. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I thought I hit record, but I didn't. I'm gonna chalk paint the base, the top of the table. I've got it stained, but I haven't polyurethaned it yet. So now I've wiped down everything with a wet cloth, let it dry, and now I'm putting the chalk paint on. I'm using my Craft Smart paintbrush, which I'm not sponsored by them, but I used my own money, $14.99, I believe it was, at Michael's Craft Store. And I've used this paintbrush for, 6 projects, and it's cleaned up nicely. It's works as well as it did on day one, so I'm thrilled with this paintbrush for only $14.99. I'm using the Art Minds chalk paint because so far it's been my favorite, and I'm using Simply White. I'm going to put 3 coats on this, probably let an hour between each coat to dry. I'm going to put 3 coats on this, then I'm going to distress it a little bit, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. I already started, but I just dab, oops, a little bit more than that. I just dab a little paint in the end, and it paints on so easy. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to paint the underbelly of this table. And I'm going to do 3 coats. Like I said, an hour between coats, and I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, I got the first coat of chalk paint on. The top is done with the stain. I just haven't polyurethaned it. But I wanted to show you the first coat. And just so that if you're doing your first chalk painting project on furniture, I just wanted you to see that the first coat usually looks pretty bad. But that is just because it's the first coat. And let me zoom in. I know it's dark. It's almost midnight and I'm down here still painting. You can see how thin it is. See the streaks? Your first coat is gonna look scary because it's not gonna look nice and neat. It's just basically, it's like priming. You're just getting that first coat on so that everything else has something to really adhere to. I just wanted to show that to you. That is the first coat, and it's definitely gonna take about 3 coats to do this project. And while I was waiting for this coat to dry, I started doing the chair. And I mean, you can see the first coat, you can see the first coat on the chair is pretty rough. I have to get a smaller paintbrush to go inside of the circles and the ornamental pieces of the chair. I need to get a smaller brush, but I'm just using up my paint that I have on my tray so it doesn't dry out, and decided to start with one of the chairs. And I didn't get all the way done, but I used up the rest of the paint on my tray and I don't want to pour more. And so I just started with one chair. Okay, I'll check back with you. Okay, it's the next morning and I have 3 coats on the base and the top is stained. I still have to do the polyurethane. I do have 3 coats on the base and it looks pretty good, but there is, let me zoom in, some spots that you can see kind of brush strokes. So I'll probably put a 4th coat on it as soon as it dries. But I like where it's heading. I love the dark walnut on the top. I did do 2 coats of the dark walnut on the top just to make it a little bit richer. Originally I had said, I put 1 coat on, it still seemed a little red to me. So I put a 2nd coat on and it really deepened it up. So I'm happy about how the top turned out. I have 1 more coat of white paint to put on the base. It looks good from far away, but close up I can still see some brush strokes. And I mean, here's some brush strokes. I don't know if you can see that. See that little section right here where it's a little bit darker. So I do think this is going to take 4 coats. Now, chalk paint, I know people say, there's no prep. You don't have to do anything but clean. And I've always believed that too. Yeah, the chair, I'm going to have to sand. I just put the first coat on it last night with the leftover paint. And then I have tried to touch up some spots with the 2nd coat. You know, I use my leftover paint when I have some left in the tray. And I've just put it on the chair just so I wasn't wasting it. But even though I cleaned it, grease that's soaked into the wood, grease keeps coming through the paint. You can see the little polka dots. I cleaned it, but that is in, you can see several spots. This is an old set I got at a parking lot sale for a flea market, and I think I paid $100 for the entire set. I think it was either 100, 150. But it was solid wood. I don't know where it was stored, how it was used. I cleaned it with Windex, but obviously there is some grease built up in the paint. And then also, I don't know what kind of coating they put on it, but it is giving the crackle effect, which I don't want. So with the chalk paint, it's actually crackling. So with this, I know they always say with chalk paint, all you have to do is clean your surface. The paint sticks to anything. It probably will after many coats, but I don't want to put that much work into it and find out it's not going to work. So I am going to sand the large portion of the chair and then the fine details. I will hand sand as much as I can, but it's hard. It's going to be hard to get into that with a sander. So I'll hand sand just as best as I can, just so I can, whatever coating they put on this chair previously, I just want to break that up a little bit because I don't want it crackling. But that's where I'm at right now. And one more coat on there, and then I'll do the polyurethane. Have not decided if I want to do the distressed look yet. I'm thinking I kind of like the clean look. I've got so much distressing going on down here with all of my furniture pieces. That's distressed. Oh, that's distressed. So I'm trying to decide if I want to distress the base or if I want to leave it nice and clean. We'll see. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, with the chairs, I did have to sand down. I know you don't have to sand before using chalk paint, but some type of oil got in this wood, and that oil kept on dripping through the chalk paint. So I was getting like oil spots all over, and you can kind of see them still in here. And I didn't get that sanded, so I'm hoping that I bought some Kills block, like a stain blocker, and I'm going to spray all the chairs down with Kills as a primer before I start doing the chalk paint. We'll see how this works. Okay, I'm going to do that to the whole chair, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I'm in a little bit of a conundrum. I'm not sure what to do. So I painted the base white. I decided I didn't want to distress it because I liked it the nice clean white. And I put on a coat of Varathane polyurethane. And it turned yellow. Look at that in the corner. It turned yellow almost instantly. So now I'm going to go back to the drawing board and see if I can put an antique glaze over this so that it looks like it's intentional, and then I'm not getting the look I wanted, but I'll get a look that's acceptable. The top turned out awesome. Bottom turned out, look at that. It yellowed, I mean, instantly. I just brushed this on. As quick as I was brushing it on, the chalk paint was turning yellow. So hopefully it hasn't ruined my project. I might have to change, look at all that yellow. I know you're not supposed to put polyurethane on here, but I've seen some other YouTubers that said as long as you use this brand, you have not had a problem. And I've used this on some of my white projects and I didn't have a problem. But you know, it's fingerprint resistant, it's matte, fast drying time, so I wanted to use it, and big no-no. So I will be back to tell you what I guess I should have used so that you don't make the same mistake I did. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so the Kills had dried, and then I took a piece of sandpaper, 180 grit, and just wiped gently, just because sometimes you can get little bumps. It looks like powdering from a primer. And so you sand lightly just to get the little bumps off. And then we had a rainstorm coming in, so I couldn't videotape because I didn't want my camera out there. So I had to spray these real quick and then carry them inside. I had to carry them by the little bars there while the paint was wet. And I didn't want my camera out there. So I ended up chalk painting the chairs with a new product that I'm trying called Valspar's Chalky Finish Paint. It's pretty spendy though. It's $10 a bottle at Lowe's. And it's a flat paint. It's a chalk. It's supposed to look like chalk, which it does look like chalk paint. But I figured I'd use the spray paint because of all of that work in there. I knew I couldn't get a paintbrush in there, so I decided to use spray paint. So I use this. My only tip, I have one mistake on the chair. And my only tip for this is when you first start spraying, spray off on the grass or something first to get the start of it cleared out. Because I didn't do that here. And see that that's the only spot that turned out bad. And that is because it just shot straight chalk out. And so I learned that I didn't have that problem on any of the rest of the chairs. As you can see, it looks nice and neat. This is the only chair I had that problem with, and that's because I started spraying on the chair right away. So when you shake this up for 1 minute, spray off to the side just for like a few seconds, just to whatever is up in here. I don't know why at the beginning of the can, it was shooting out powder first. So if you're ever using this stuff, make sure you spray off your furniture onto like grass or your painting tarp or paper towel or something before you start spraying on here, because I did that for the rest of the chairs and the rest of the chairs turned out fabulous. I'm very happy with them. But you know, like I said, I'm coming across a lot of do not do's and mistakes doing this project. Like I did find out that I was using the right polyurethane for the table and it yellowed instantly. That table was done, I believe that table must be in the 1930s to 1940s. And I was told when I went to get paint that they use different kind of varnishes back then. And you do need to sand them before using chalk paint, because whatever is in it, I don't know if it's teak oil or something like that, he said, can cause your polyurethane to yellow. And so I'm going to go down and show you the table, because I did have to completely change colors, because I tried to put I sanded the old polyurethane down and then tried to put white over it again. It still yellowed. So white is not an option. So I'm going to show you what I did. But the chairs are painted. Just use spray paint. But I did do, I'm going to start doing that on all the antique furniture that I have, that I'm going to be redoing, because I don't know what kind of lacquer or veneer that they have on, not veneer, but what type of top coat they used. And I don't know how it's going to react when I'm using a white chalk paint. Chalk paint in white is very finicky. I know they say absolutely no prep, and you see all these videos that everything turns out wonderful. But I'm learning that it's not always wonderful. So learn from my mistakes. If you're using white chalk paint on an old antique piece of furniture, still take the time to degrease it. I just use Windex, which I showed you earlier. These chairs had grease that actually came through, which using the Kills, even though Kills is oil-based, you can buy it in a water base. I use oil base, but you can do oil base first and then put water base over it, which chalk paint is a water base. But you can't do it the opposite direction. You can't put oil base on top of a water base. That's what I was told. So, you know, as long as oil base was first. So the Kills, it worked out fine. Nothing is yellowed. Everything's turning out good. So, okay, I'm going to show you the table. Taking a break from painting and going for a ride. Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, honey.
Love you.
Love you too. Okay, to solve the problem of the yellowing of the white, whatever the finish was that was on this before is just not going to take a white paint. No matter what I do, it instantly turns yellow. So what I did is I painted it with the Art Minds chalk paint, and I used a color called Cocoon. It's coming off a little bit green here, but that's because I'm in the farmhouse and there's not much for lighting down here. But it's called Cocoon. It's like a tan, yeah, kind of like a tan. It's coming off as green here, but it is tan. Let's see if I get some light. See, there's some light. See, it's tan. Okay, and so I did put one coat of clear wax on it. Just rubbed it in with a brush and then wiped it off. I haven't had my camera all week, and so I'm using my cell phone. But now, just because I think it looks good, but it's boring, and my chairs are white, I'm gonna try this, the Art Minds White Wax. And I'm gonna try that, and let's see how it goes. Okay. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous because I've used the Annie Sloan's chalk paint waxes before. I have used the clear wax of hers and the dark wax, never her white wax, but I've seen pictures of it and some YouTube videos and it's white. This is yellow. And I'm so nervous because of the whole yellowing fiasco, but let's just see how it goes. Now with this, you don't shake it, you stir it. So I stirred it, and you always want to pour it into another container because you don't want to contaminate the wax if you get paint back in it. And once again, paint companies find a different way to put a lid on there that's easier to remove. Okay, we pour some in here. And then take my paintbrush and clean it up. I'm trying to do this one-handed. All my rest of my paintbrushes are wet. So this is my last one. This has got to work. And I do have a little cotton t-shirt with me for wiping it off, a lint-free, some type of lint-free rag you have to have. Okay, I know this is dark, but like I said, I don't have a lot of light in the farmhouse. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of this and then I'm gonna shut off the camera so I can have two hands. Okay, I'm gonna rub it on. Okay, it just looks like very thin white paint is what it looks like. Okay. I'm going to leave it on for a little bit too so that it gets more of an effect. I apologize for the lighting. So I'm just going to coat everything with this white chalk, or this white wax. I'm hoping that when I take pictures and stuff, I'll have a flash so you'll be able to really see how this turns out. But I want you to see how I'm correcting all the mistakes that have happened in this chalk painting project. So I'm going to paint one whole leg. Get under the table. Paint one whole leg, or not paint, but put on the wax on one whole leg, and then when I get done getting it on the leg, I will wipe it off. Now let's do one leg at a time. Kind of going with the grain because I kind of want the white to stick to the brush strokes from the chalk paint. This thing has got now on it a total of 6 layers of paint because of trying to fix all of the yellowing. This has not been an easy project. The nice thing is my mom sent me some fabric that matches this perfectly. And I'm not putting a lot on my brush. I'm just getting it on the bristles. And it's like spreading butter is what it feels like. It's like buttering toast. It literally has the same feel as butter. I'm sorry if I'm making you guys dizzy. Okay, now let's wipe it off and let's see what we got. Okay, wad up a rag. Oh, I wish you guys could see that. It actually did put some white in the grooves. I'm just gonna wipe it all off. It really toned down the paint so it doesn't look so harsh. Okay, I'm gonna wipe all this down. It's hard to do it one-handed, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm done, and I love the effect. I'm glad I did the white chalk, or I'm glad I did the white wax. See how it filled in the cracks in between with the white? See the kind of pickling effect? The white actually grabbed onto the brush strokes of the paint. It's not perfect, but at least it's not the boring same color. So I like it. I can't wait for it to dry. See, look at the pickling. It's got the kind of pickling look. There you can see it in the grooves of the wood. But that's what the white wax does. Can't wait to take pictures when it's daylight. I only get to work out here when it's nighttime. So I apologize, but I wanted to get this project done in between guests, so it's time to cure. So, okay, and I will show you what I'm doing next. Bye.